Dillon Danis is not a real fighter. I don't know. I always say this, all of these guys, because I'm about to shit all over them. I don't know any of them, right? Jake Paul's an absolute tit of a human being, let's be honest. He says he's going out there, he's spearheading a movement for fighters, but yet there's still fighters on his undercard that get paid way less than an entry-level UFC fight, so he can pump the brakes on that one straight away.
Oh, it's 15-time world champion Demetrious Johnson. You're listening to the MightyCast.
What is going on, boys? Welcome back to the channel, and boy oh boy do we have a special guest for you guys today. Michael the Count Bisping, the former middleweight champion of the world. He's also the Ultimate Fighter winner. Michael Bisping, welcome to the MightyCast. How are you doing, brother?
UFC Hall of Famer, Ultimate Fighter winner, former champion, all-round awesome human being. I am doing fantastic. It is great to be on the MightyCast. It's been a long time coming, brother. I thought I would never get a goddamn invite. What the hell?
Hey, you're busy doing movies, being an analyst, you know, flying around the world, doing all this amazing stuff. So I appreciate you taking the time to come on the show. Obviously, big fan. I'm a big fan of you and your work, your fight career, your acting career, and also your YouTube. I watched the last one where you did the reaction of Dillon versus Logan Paul. And man, like, one, I'm not gonna lie, is I love your accent. I've always been a big fan of your accent. All right, just gonna put it out there. Even when we work together on UFC tonight,
I'm married. Just so you know,
I can be still fond of your, your accent. Doesn't mean I want to make love to you, but I've always been fond.
I'm very fond of you and your accent. I really am. No, thank you very much, mate. And all jokes aside, it's a pleasure to talk to you. You're an absolute legend, Demetrious, and I truly mean that. You're one of the greatest of all time. So when you asked me to do this, I was like, yeah, of course. It's a no-brainer, absolute no-brainer. You know, we were fortunate enough to share a card. Was it just one or two? I think it might have been a couple, but still, as I say. As soon as you said, I was like, yeah, of course, man. I would love to chop it up with you.
Appreciate you, man. All right, let's get into it. So I know you've been following a little bit of the Dillon and Logan Paul, the whole misfit boxing, right? Like, for me, when I take a step back and look at these guys, one, they're making a shitload of money, right? Because of their YouTube days and the following they have. But for me, it's like, why not take your training serious? Like Dillon said he didn't train one boxing round at all. He said, I had no boxing camp. And for me, I'm like, why the hell would you even try? Like, why would you even, put yourself in that position where you're going to fight somebody in a boxing match and not train boxing? Like, it just honestly is, in my opinion, a big disrespect to the sport and all the fans who paid the money to watch him fight, right? I mean, I got excited because all the Nina things on Twitter, because I had a good laugh. So did Michael, and so did you, Bisping. I'm pretty sure you did. But at the end of the day, when I'm sitting there watching, I'm like, dude, why not? You're on your back. It's not jiu-jitsu. Go out there and fight him. You're talking all this trash. Go out there and fight this man. And I was like, why would they just do that?
Yeah, but there's one thing that you're forgetting, Demetrious, is that you're coming at it from the angle of a real fighter. You know what I mean? Dillon Danis is not a real fighter. I don't know. I always say this, all of these guys, because I'm about to shit all over them. I don't know any of them, right? Jake Paul's an absolute tit of a human being, let's be honest. He says he's going out there, he's spearheading a movement for fighters, but yet there's still fighters on his undercard that get paid way less than an entry-level UFC fight, so he can pump the brakes on that one straight away. But these guys aren't real fighters. You know, they're there to put on some entertainment. And I guess from that regard, God bless them and good for them. We're all trying to get ahead in life. We're all trying to do our thing, right? We all want to be a success. We all want to make money. You know, we all want to take care of our families, our children, whatever the situation is. So from that perspective, I've got no hate, for want of a better word, on them whatsoever. More power to them. You know, they've found a niche, they've found their groove, and good for them. It's just number one, when they start talking like they're real fighters, when they start disrespecting other real fighters, when they start saying that, when Jake Paul, for example, says that he's going to take on the likes of Canelo Alvarez and Logan, you know, he's just as bad, and he's even said stuff about me in the past, you know, Tommy Fury, KSI, I've got no drama with either of them. That fight was just plain awful, and I think everyone can agree. And it was a robbery. I said that in my YouTube channel. I said KSI Tommy Fury was a robbery. And yeah, it was a robbery because anyone that paid to watch that utter shit show was robbed. They deserve their money back. The only appeal that should be going in is everybody saying, hold on, that is false advertisement. I paid to see some boxing, okay? There was more grappling in the Dillon Danis fight than there was in the UFC fight that I commentated that night, which was a legendary fight, by the way. Edson Barboza and Sadiq Youssef. Shout out to both of them. What a war they had. As I say, I've got no problem with anyone going down whatever avenue they're trying to do. They're trying to make money. They're trying to get ahead. But don't talk shit about real fighters like yourself, like me, that have literally sacrificed so much to get to the stage where we are. And a lot of people come at me and they say, well, you're jealous just because these guys are making so much money. Jealous? Number one, people say this all the time. You know, they often throw that out there. Anytime you talk, you have a negative opinion, shall we say. Anytime you're not kissing someone's ass and drinking the Kool-Aid, you're jealous. I have never been jealous of another human being a day in my life. Sure, you look at people and you think, great. I mean, wow, they've got it good. They're doing successful things. You know, Conor McGregor's earning loads of money. You know what I mean? It doesn't fill me with envy. You can't walk around life looking at everyone that's doing better than you and compare yourselves against them. So that's just crazy for a start. But to go back to it all, Dillon Danis not training, yeah, because he's not a real fighter. He was there for a paycheck. He was there for a little bit of glory. He was there for his 15 minutes of fame. And I think, what was it? 6 times 3. His 18 minutes, well, third round didn't even finish. He was there for his 15 and a half minutes of fame. And that's where it's going to end. Because he will never, ever get another boxing match in his life. Certainly, whether it's real boxing, I think he'd even have problems getting an MMA fight after that because he couldn't even take Logan Paul down. And he's supposed to be the grappling superstar.
Yeah, I think you're right. I need to change. Well, first off, I think, it's very hard for you to be jealous of any man out in the world with hair like that and those piercing blue eyes. But
piercing blue eye. Just one.
I know. You only got one.
I want to say DJ, an ongoing thing with our YouTube is he's jealous of anyone that has a great set of hair. Like Dillon Danis, every Dillon Danis video we did, he had to be like, man, his head of hair. He's got that going for him. Is the good head of hair.
Yeah, no. Listen, to be fair, Dillon has got he's got that cool mullet going on. I'll give him that. You know what I mean? But DJ, just embrace it. Just embrace it. I mean. There's a lot of older gentlemen that are suave and sophisticated and sexually attractive to the opposite sex, You just got to go down the whole, who's a famous bold person? Bruce Willis. Well, he's got dementia, though. So maybe that was a bad example. Shout out Bruce Willis. I mean, what
maybe LL Cool J. LL Cool J.
Bruce Willis. That was the first bold person that popped in my head.
But I think you're right. I need to change my perspective of how I look at these guys when they fight. Right? The hardest one is Tommy Fury because he has a background in boxing, but I don't see it. Typically when you see, guys like you said, Canelo Alvarez, Floyd Mayweather, Sugar Ray Leonard, the list just goes on of guys who have reached that caliber of boxing. They have a huge amateur background. But when you look at Tommy Fury, I feel like he is on the list with the YouTubers. Like I don't see 40 amateur fights, 50 amateur fights in his stable. I feel like maybe he's had 3 amateur fights and then now he's 10-0 as a pro. And I'm like, dude, like how the hell are you having these guys keep up? So I think the biggest thing is just changing my mindset. Perspective.
No, I totally agree. As you were talking now, I just looked up Tommy Fury's Wikipedia page. And in terms of amateur, there's exhibition bouts. No amateur bouts. Look, listen.
See, there you go right there. Right there. There's another guy. There's no amateur bouts. So there's a boxer who's considered pro. We're talking about this in one of the other episodes is about, somebody asked me, how do you get to the level of Floyd Mayweather, Canelo Alvarez, just the greats in boxing, Mike Tyson? Those guys, they had long amateur careers. even me, Michael, how many amateur fights did you have in mixed martial arts before you went pro?
Obviously I'm a little bit older than you, but and growing up in England, it wasn't quite as organized, shall we say. So MMA, the term, didn't really exist. But in terms of what we would define as amateur competition. I mean, I was doing these since I was 8 years old. You know, various forms of martial arts and kickboxing. And we used to do a thing called knockdown sport budo, which was mixed martial arts essentially, but we just didn't know it. And we would have no gloves on, but there was no headshots. But it was MMA. Everything was all in, you know. But we just, that term, we weren't familiar with it. I know now, looking back, that the promoter ripped off the UFC in 1993, but I wasn't following it back then. So, yeah, in terms of amateur MMA, I guess you would say zero. But I did so many tournaments, you know, and that is the difference. And I'm not trying to rip on Tommy, because he actually got my respect after that, because when he said there'll only be one Tyson Fury, I'm just trying to be the best Tommy Fury that I can be, you know. And I thought there was some realization there of who he is and where he's going and what he's capable of. You know, it wasn't the best fight. It really wasn't. I think, to be fair, KSI made that almost impossible, doing jumping jacks from a distance and then just lunging in. Anytime you lunge in like that, you're going to fall into a clinch, you know, and then from that clinch scenario, you know, being able to use the inside boxing and dirty boxing, for want of a better term, to do it effectively at a high level, that comes with a lot of time and experience, and he's still just a novice. It wasn't good. It wasn't good. However, yeah, no, do you know what? Because I covered his fight against, who was it? Anthony Pretty Boy Taylor, when Jake Paul fought Tyron Woodley the first time. I covered it for BT Sport. So I did a little research and I watched him in his first couple of fights, and he sparked these guys out cold. And I thought, whoa, he could be okay. But then when I watched him against Anthony Taylor, he won. But again, it wasn't impressive. And I thought maybe it's he was a mixed martial artist, so the style's different, and he found him a little awkward. Then he fought Jake Paul, and I thought he looked okay. But I think that's more a measuring stick of just how shit, and if we're honest, Jake Paul is. And then he repeats a very, very mediocre performance against KSI. Not mediocre, a poor performance, let's be honest.
Yeah, and that's the thing I was telling Wonsover. I was like, dude, I don't see a guy who's a pro boxer having a long amateur career. And so you just looked it up right there. He's never had a legit amateur career. Where I told people out there, it's like, me, I think 30 amateur fights. You probably had 30, maybe more amateur fights. They weren't called amateur fights, but you were still building a great foundation for you to be a world champion, be a successful boxer, a professional mixed martial artist, where when you got to the UFC, you weren't fucking, you know, doing jumping jacks and all this other bullshit and not entertaining the fans. So that's just one thing that I saw with, you know, Tommy Fury. So it's sad to say that this chapter is closed for these gentlemen, but it is what it is. I mean, potentially it has. I mean,
here's one thing that I always talk about. You know, obviously I commentate fights and I speak to a lot of younger fighters. I always tell them, have as many amateur fights as you possibly can. And I'm sure you'll agree, because that's when you're really learning, you know, and do as much competition as you can. If you're a young man or woman and you're aspiring to maybe fight in the UFC or be the next Demetrious Johnson, whatever it is, get as much mat time as possible, because you got to get used to that one-on-one environment. I don't need to tell you this. I'm telling the people that are listening to this, or the Mighty Mouse fans, the mighty ones, you know, because it's so nerve-wracking walking out there, and when it's one-on-one and there's a crowd, it doesn't matter if there's 100 people or 10,000 people. It's still intimidating. And I guess from that respect and that angle, I will give them credit, because it is, you know, very, as I said, nerve-wracking walking out there in front of those massive crowds, because they're in at the deep end straight away. But that's also because of their inflated egos, you know, and they have this. It is though, let's be honest. They think their shit doesn't stink, so therefore everyone should come and see me because I'm f***ing Jake Paul and I'm Logan Paul. Listen, I'll give Logan props. The stuff he's doing in WWE, not
it's
that I follow
amazing
it at all, but the shit I've seen a few clips like jumping off the top rope and stuff. That's super athletic. You know what I mean? So he's a very, very athletic guy. And as I said at the start, and I truly mean this, I don't hate on anyone going after the pursuit of happiness and the pursuit of money and well-being and trying to take care of themselves and their family. So from that regard, good luck to them. But again, stop talking shit. And then here's another thing that really gets me. Jake Paul getting in the ring afterwards and saying, these MMA fighters, they can't compete. What are you talking about? Right? You fought Tyron Woodley, a very washed up version of Tyron Woodley, right? Tyron, it was a great champion, but he didn't show up for the last 4 of his fights. Do you know what I mean? In the UFC. He just didn't fight. He didn't fight. You know, because once that fire goes out, it's hard to reignite it. You can't light it again, you know. And I'm not talking shit about Tyron. He had an incredible career, you know, and he earned it. And he defended the belt multiple times. Not an easy thing to do. So maximum respect. But when that fire went out and we saw him showing up, he wasn't fighting. That's the version that Jake Paul beat. Then he beat Ben Askren. Come on, he couldn't fight his way out of a wet paper bag. Anderson Silva, I'll give him credit, even though it was an old Anderson Silva. The man was pushing 50 and he lost a lot of his fights towards the end of his UFC run. So to take that record, that history, that running track record against retired older MMA guys and say that MMA guys can't compete, they're out of their mind. Step in against Alex Pereira and see what happens. Step in against Robert Whittaker and see what happens. I could go on and on and on. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, even though he's a kickboxer, will probably box his head off, and he's almost 40 as well. You can't just tarnish an entire sport and say that we can't box, we can't use our hands. It's hilarious.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Michael, before we go, I'm going to give a shout out to our sponsor. If you guys are looking to get the best energy from your supplements, make sure you check out gfuel.com. And when you go there, make sure you use my code MIGHTY. They have a lot of Halloween specials. They just dropped the Demon Fuel, which is inspired by Nightmare on Elm Street, which is one of my favorite horror movies. Freddy Krueger, going to get you in your sleep. Once again, gfuel.com/mighty. Save 20% on your G Fuel purchase.
And DJ, why don't you tell Michael right now your controversial take coming out of Logan Paul, Dillon Danis. Tell him what was the first thing you said after you saw that fight about if they fought in MMA.
Dude, I honestly think if they fight MMA, I think Logan Paul beats him. He's way more athletic than him. He defends the shot. And obviously, I think he's probably going to hit a lot. Well, I don't know if he hits hard because he hit him with a couple of bombs and he didn't drop him. But I honestly think Logan Paul could beat Dillon Danis in MMA because he can wrestle. And if Dillon Danis can't get you down to the ground, it's not like he can pull guard and scoot his butt towards him because the referees stand him up, right? And so after seeing how Dillon Danis went about fighting him in boxing, not displaying any type of knowledge or curriculum of how to, bounce back and forth and try to make, Logan Paul overextend and catch him with the right hand. I was like, dude, and he shot a double A takedown and he also went for a guillotine. He didn't succeed on both those. I'm like, guys, I think Logan Paul can beat him in MMA.
Yeah.
It's a far-fetched, but I'm more of a believer. If I had to put my money somewhere, I would have put on Logan Paul.
Well, you're not the only one to say that because I saw that theory floated around online and I understand the theory. And it just shows how shit Dillon Danis just is. You know what I mean? Let's be honest, If you can't wrestle, that's an issue. Maybe he could do an Imanari roll or something like that and find a way to get it down to the ground, and I'm sure he'd have his way with him, But that's the problem with jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu takedowns suck. They're non-existent. You know what I mean? Yeah. Sweep the leg, grab hold and go for an Osato-gari or something. They don't work in mixed martial arts at the highest level. So jiu-jitsu guys, they come in and they're great, but they kind of pan out a little bit when they meet somebody with good wrestling because they can't get it down to the ground. And then they're forced to stand and bank, which is never pretty. It's never good to look at. So that is probably what would happen with Dillon and Logan, but we got a lot of stuff to talk about, Demetrious. I can't sit here and chew the fat. I'm with the great Demetrious Johnson. We got to move on from the Misfits madness.
We're about to. You were talking about the transition, in mixed martial arts, how you're seeing the older gentlemen like Tyron Woodley, Anderson Silva, Ben Askren, they went to boxing, but your path was a little bit different. You haven't, touched any of this influence boxing. I don't know if a lot of people follow your career outside of mixed martial arts, but you've been in movies. Now you're a full-time analyst. I wanted to talk about that. I think that's every athlete's goal is once they're done doing mixed martial arts, you kind of found an avenue to do other things to supplement the income to make a living, right? Yeah. And with the movies, you were also on Borderlands, I believe, right? I was watching one of the clips and you're beating the hell out of somebody in a ring and you hit him in the stomach. I believe it was on HBO. Correct me if I'm wrong, right? It was Borderlands?
You talking about Warrior,
that's what it was. Yeah. Can you talk to us a little bit about what was your path to doing that? And I saw you just did something with Gerard Butler and Den of Thieves 2.
Yep.
I don't think a lot of people, our listeners, know that. And I think it's really cool because typically, like you said, the athletes, they go through this career, become world champion, Hall of Fame, all the accolades you've been able to get in your career. And a lot of them just disappear into the background or walked in the sun. But for you, you've been able to do something with it. So talk to me about your acting career. Like, how did you start? Why did you start? And how's it going?
Yeah, well, thank you. Some very kind words there, Demetrious. And to be honest, I don't like to talk about myself as an actor because I still don't class myself as an actor. I did a movie.
No. Do you got your SAG card?
Yeah. No, I know.
Okay,
but
you got your
I
SAG
did a film
card.
last year. But I was saying to, so I did this film last year, Red Sonja. And one of the guys on there, Luca Pasqualino, great actor from the UK, and we became very close. And we were talking, and he would often refer to me, or we talk as actors. And I'd always say, I'm not an actor. And we would have like, not arguments, but like differences of opinion. He's like, what are you talking? You're an actor, Mike. And I remember we were doing this scene, and I was kind of annoyed because somebody wasn't taking it seriously and all the rest of it. And he was like, see, look, you're a f***ing actor. You're doing a great job, you know. And it's not because, and there is a certain element of me having imposter syndrome. So that's kind of, I say that as an insurance card, so to speak. But it's because it's just a little avenue of many things that I do. When I was fighting, and you'll know this, life was tough growing up. Money was very, very, very extremely tight. It was almost non-existent. And then I found myself in this world of mixed martial arts and fighting for the UFC, and life became good. Life became great. And all of a sudden we could pay the bills. We had money in the bank and so on and so forth. And I was always worried that this was just going to be a little blip on the timeline of my life, and I was like, eventually I'm going to end up working back down the factory for minimum wage again and all the rest of it. And that always motivated me to try and find a way to beat that, to make sure that wasn't my future. And obviously it's well known, I've got the fake eyeball in. And when that came about, that was kind of a blessing in disguise because I continued to fight and I was cheating past the tests and stuff like that. But I knew that I was on borrowed time. And it's only a matter of time before I get busted and my fight career is taken away. So I started doing everything I could to do other things, and that involved working at Fox Sports. I was very lucky. I live in Orange County, California. It's like an hour drive away. So I started doing that stuff. Obviously, I'm commentating now. I started a podcast and I started working on acting and stuff. And to answer your question, the way the acting stuff came around was Tap Out. Obviously, you're aware of Tap Out, the brand.
Of course.
They were making more money. They were making so much money back in the day, and I don't know this for a fact, but I'm going to assume that they were trying to write some of it off in taxes because they were making vast amounts of money, and well done to them, of course. So they started doing movies, Tap Out movies, and I just got an email out the blue one day, and they asked me to be in a film, and I've never acted before in my life, but I'm like, yeah, of course. Like watching action movies as a kid is kind of what got me into martial arts. Watching the Rocky movies, Jean-Claude Van Damme was a big hero of mine. I literally wanted to be that guy. Do you know what I mean? Bloodsport, a kickboxer, watched him about 1,000 times on VHS, and that's what got me doing martial arts. So of course I took that opportunity. Like anything, you prepare for it. I got myself an acting coach. Next minute, I'm flying down to Austin, Texas, and I'm acting. And it was, I'm on the front cover of the goddamn film. Do you know what I mean? It was a big part, and I've never acted before in my life. I was shitting my pants. But as I started calming down and I got to know the director and, I was more at ease in that environment, I did a pretty decent job. And the director even said to me afterwards, he said, Mike, you did great. He said, that was amazing. He said, continue with this. He said, I'm telling you, he said, you've got something there. Obviously, now I live in Orange County, California. I moved out here. Well, after that, when I got home, I managed to get a part in a little soap opera on British TV in the UK. So I did that, Hollyoaks later. It's like a cheesy soap opera. I was the bad guy. I'm always the bad guy. So I did that, just getting a bit more experience. And then when I came out to America, I thought, well, I'll get myself an agent. So, yeah, I tried to get myself an agent, found one, and it just kind of went from there. And it is going relatively well. Like I've got 3 films that are waiting to be released, so a bit of a humble brag there. Den of Thieves 2, Red Sonja, and I forget the other one. And there's a few things in the pipeline, etc., etc. Hold on.
See, that's amazing, dude. That's amazing. Like, that's what, if all
Sorry,
the listeners...
I thought my computer just went, everything went dark because I haven't touched the key, but we're still rolling. I went like that. No, exactly. I mean, but I take it all with a pinch of salt. Do you know what I mean? Yes, I want to
Yeah.
do it. And the reason I want to do it is because it excites me and it's something new. And just like back in the day when I would fly off to Australia or to Macau or to Brazil and go with my teammates and we train for an opponent and that journey, that mission, it's also fun to jump on a plane and fly off somewhere, meet new people, become a new character. And listen, I'm never going to be winning an Oscar or anything like that. I'm well aware of my limitations, but
You never
the stuff
know.
I do
You never
is
know.
action-centric and it's fun. I enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, do you have an American accent yet? Do you
Well, a very, very, very bad one. So, I mean, I've
can
done
I hear it?
auditions for
Can I
American
hear it?
accents. I've never landed them once. Do you know what
Can
I
I
mean?
hear it?
And I'm not going to do it right now because you never know. That big break might be around the corner. And I am going to do shitty rinky-dink podcasts like this.
Well, I think that's amazing, Mike. The biggest thing is, like I said, even in my career in mixed martial arts, you know, I always tell everybody it's a ticking time bomb to where you blow your ACL or you get knocked out or you just don't show up like you used to be when you're 26 or 28 years old, right? And if we keep on relying on our bodies to pay the bills, then eventually your body's going to fail you and you're not going to be able to pay your bills. So when I saw you, you know, go down that path and started doing some acting and saw you on Warrior, then saw the Identities 2, and I've always like, man, you know what? Michael Bisping would be a good bad guy in like Mission Impossible like 12. Like his accent, the fake eye, he could put like an 8-ball in your eyeball and you just like, you da 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 with your accent. But I don't know. I think it's cool. And I think a lot of listeners love to hear the backstory of how you got into it, right? Because I didn't know it started with Tap Out. I mean, Tap Out was huge back in the day. Yeah. I mean, it sold to Kmart, it was in Walmart, and then, you know, Mass did an amazing stuff, bringing Donna Cerrone into the WEC. I mean, they have a huge legacy of helping people in mixed martial arts, but the fact that they helped you get into the movie industry, I think some of the listeners will love to hear that. So that's dope. And I can't wait to see, you know, you got 3 movies that are going to be released and you have some more stuff in a pipeline. So don't ever say you're not an actor because...
Yeah, but that's why, because I'm also very aware, right, of sounding like a f***ing asshole. Do you know what I mean? Which you know, I don't think I'm this, you know, contrary to popular belief. I don't think I'm this big deal. I don't think I've got it all set. I don't think I've got it all figured out. I'm just going through life again, just still scratching and clawing away and trying to do my thing. And above everything else, take care of my wife and my children and give them the best life possible. And things are going great. Things are good. But you can never take that for granted, you know. Certainly in this day and age, you say the wrong thing and you're gone, you're cancelled, you know, and which is hard for a guy like me because I'm very controversial. I like to speak my mind. So, yeah, but the reason I say it is because I don't want to sound like I've dissipated up my backside. I enjoy doing it and I'm enjoying the experience and the run and the ride. But I'm not...
You're an actor,
I'm not
Michael.
making it my identity.
I know that.
My identity is that I'm a former fighter and I do now things in the entertainment space.
Absolutely. I mean, so my dad, he was an extra in the movie Boneyard. He knows the fight choreographer for the movie who did the Boneyard. It's with Mel Gibson and 50 Cent. He came home and goes, "Hey son, guess what? I got my check. I'm an actor. I got my SAG card too." And I was like, "Congratulations, Dad. I'm so proud of you." Right? So, I mean, it's one thing you can check off in your box. You did some movies, and like you said, it's not your full blown identity. You'll always be known as, you know, a former fighter, but now you're transitioning that role as an entertainer because you are very entertaining with your podcast and TV analyst and the fight analyst. So I think, you know, I understand you're not trying to sound like an asshole, but Michael, you're an actor. But it's not your full identity, okay?
Yeah. Well, no, I know. But thank you, Demetrious. And you know, listen, just you touched on something there. You know, a lot of people don't realize, and I was joking about the strike stuff before. Acting is such a hard road as well, and that's why I was very lucky. And my agents always said this because, unless you're a movie star, there's really not a lot of money in it. People, you know, there's this fallacy that, you know, you get on a movie or you get on a TV show and you're making ridiculous amounts of money. It's not like that at all, and that's why, you know, a lot of actors that are just in the background. You know, even when they have speaking parts, not talking about extras, you know, they don't get paid a lot of money. So that's why Los Angeles is full. Every waiter or barman is an actor on the side, you know. Yep. So it's a hard job in that regard. There's a slog and you got to believe in yourself. And I guess it's the same thing with fighting. You know what I mean? You've either got it or you haven't. You know, but listen, we'll see where that goes. You know what I mean? Maybe
Yeah.
I'll never do another thing again. And you know what? I won't give a shit. Because I won't. I said to my wife, my daughter now, she's in acting school. She absolutely loves it. And she's found her passion in life. And
Nice.
it cost me a goddamn fortune, by the way. But I always say this, if nothing else comes from the little bit of acting that I've done, you know, which I've enjoyed and I've had some great experiences, but if nothing else comes, then Ellie finding her way into this world, and whether or not she becomes an actress or works behind the scenes, she's doing production and all that type of stuff. I forget exactly what the course is, but whatever. Theatre production and all kinds of shit, right? But she's found a passion in her life because she was kind of lost, you know. You know how it is as a young man, you know.
Oh yeah.
You
Oh,
drift
yeah.
through life
Absolutely.
and you don't know what you want to do. And she went through a breakup, and I suggested to her do some acting classes because you explore your emotions. So she went and did that, and she fell in love with it. And now she's found her thing and her groove in life and what she wants to do. And she has a dream, right? Whether or not that comes off is another thing, but it's so healthy to have a dream and something to aspire to. And I always say, if nothing else comes of it, the fact that my daughter discovered a potential pathway in life and something to strive towards and work towards, then it all paid off and it was all totally worth it.
Absolutely, that's amazing. Oh, Michael, I never told you this. You know I'm half English. Like I'm half English.
Where are your parents from?
London.
Both of them?
No, just my dad.
Oh, really? Well, there you go. Come on,
Yeah.
mate. You're part of the family.
Yeah,
Have you
I know,
got?
I know, I
do
know.
you have? Now, hold on. Let's be honest. Because when you said, I'm half English, you
Yeah.
know, even though Americans love to go 1776. By the way,
Yeah.
no one in England even knows what 1776 is. No one gives a flying. Honestly, I don't know if you know this. That was a long time ago, okay? And so no one cares about that. But it's funny because, we're the bad guys and Americans love to hate on the English is what I've experienced here. But everywhere, when you speak to someone, they'll always go, yeah, I'm German. Yeah, I'm Irish. I'm Portuguese,
Yeah.
And the Irish. The Irish is a big one. I'm Irish. And I actually had a little bit of a falling out with Paul Felder on that because I was only teasing him, but I pushed his buttons a bit too much. And shout out Paul Felder. Love working with that guy, but he's the Irish dragon. But it wasn't just Paul. I say this to everyone all the time. Americans love to own being Irish. I say, oh, really? You're Irish, are you? Because my mum's Irish. My mum actually has an Irish accent, okay? She's like legit Irish, But I don't claim to be Irish because I was born in England and my dad's English. So I say I'm English. I say, right, okay, does anybody in your immediate family speak with an Irish accent? Because if they don't, then you're not Irish, mate. Do you know what I mean? You might have Irish ancestry. Do you know what I mean? You guys are American. And you're all proud and patriotic. Say you're American. Don't say you're German. Don't say you're Italian. Don't say you're whatever the fuck it is. You're Americans. And that's all right.
I'm an American. I'm full blown American. But my dad, he's like, no, son, you're English. I was like, Dad, I'm an American. He goes, son, I'm fucking half black and I'm half English. And I'm like, okay. And then he showed me all his stuff, and he has an accent. Like, so he was born here in America, but then his mom took him back to England, and he grew up from 2 years old all the way till he was 19. He danced for the Queen. He did some CDs
Danced
out
with
there.
the Queen.
He danced for the Queen's.
Oh, sorry,
the Queen's
pardon me.
He danced for the Queen's sister. I have to see some of his stuff. You'll laugh, but it's funny because when I hang out with him, he has like this weird ass accent. He goes, "Oh, that's lovely, son." He goes, "Good boy." Good boy. And then he made me an English dish. He goes, son, what do you think of this English dish? I was like, tastes like shit. And he goes, it's English, son. There's no sugars, preservative, or anything like that. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I thought that was cool. Like, when I was like, I'm talking about Bisping, see if he accept me
That's
as one
great.
of
That's
his
great.
own.
But it sounds like your dad is the prime example of what I just said. He was born in America and went over to England. You know what I mean? Even you. See, you've just proved my point. And by the way, before you right wing. Crazy America guys get on your high horse. I'm having a laugh. I'm being silly. I'm having a joke. Okay, so have a sense of humor about everything, guys. Don't know if you noticed this, but I'm very rarely serious until I'm really serious.
Hey, you know what?
But yeah,
we love to we like to shoot the shit and just be honest and speak your You're mine. So don't worry about it. If people get offended, they can just leave. I don't care. All right.
DJ, one thing I wanted to ask about that got brought up during our Ariel Helwani interview. So you mentioned it, Michael, at the beginning of this interview, that both you guys have shared at least a couple fight cards together. And DJ told an interesting story, if you could repeat it for Michael, of, I guess, so your fight was before DJ's.
I know
and he gets in the locker room. Yep.
I know it.
So can you tell that story?
Yeah.
You know how long?
Oh, God.
Go ahead.
Hold on. Your coach, legendary. What's his name? Don't
Matt
say
Hume.
it.
Sorry, I
Hume.
said it. Yeah, Hume.
Something Hume.
Yeah.
Matt Hume.
There it is. Yeah, so you and Matt Hume are taking a picture and I'm in the background like this. And then I think on that flight home, you got me back. You got a picture. I was like all asleep. Like
Yes.
that. You got one as well.
Yeah, I was looking everywhere to try to find that picture of you dancing in your underwear behind me when I was warming up to announce people like, hey, the next guest on MightyCast is Michael Bisping. And then when we were going to that's right, because we went to California and did all the press conference, like the promo, and then we flew to was that Toronto? No, it was Montreal. Yeah. Montreal. We flew to Montreal together because we fought in Toronto together too, UFC 152. But we flew to Montreal together. You got me sleeping with my mouth open. And then when we went home together, I got you with your mouth open. And I said, got it back, boys. But it's kind of crazy. We shared a lot of cards together. But for the life of me, I could not find that picture. I checked GettyImages.com. If anybody out there who's listening to this, if you guys can find a picture of Michael Bisping dancing in his underwear, can you please send it to us in the Discord? I would love to look at it and see, just have that and get it, framed. And maybe I get Michael.
I'd like it as well, because no doubt I'll be in fight shape, which I'm nowhere near fight shape these days. You got to hang on to those ones, buddy. You know what I mean? I've probably got it on my phone because I'm pretty sure I posted it on Instagram or something like that back in the day. But yeah, good times, man. Good times.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Okay, so next big fight, I want to get your piece on this, because have you ever taken a fight on short notice?
Yeah, many fights. Well, I say many, but multiple.
Really?
Yeah, of course. When I fought with Rocco, when I knocked out Luke to become the champ.
Oh, that's right.
I was filming Triple X in Toronto, and I took that on 2 weeks' notice.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that, because who is he supposed to fight and they backed out?
Chris Weidman. Well, he got injured.
That's right. And then you stepped in, because I was actually at that fight in California when you did that. And I remember my favorite meme of that is you hitting him in the face, and someone put a dildo in your hand. I don't know if you ever saw that. That was my favorite.
What do you mean? Don't know if I ever saw that. Listen, that pops up on my timeline all the time, and I'm not going to repost that. You know what I mean? It's so crass. You know what I'm saying? It really is. And poor old Luke. I mean, he doesn't help himself, but he gets a lot of shit online. He's actually a nice guy, because we've trained a little bit, and Perillo, my coach, took him under the wing for a while. But yeah, no, I've definitely seen that picture.
It's one of my favorite pictures, to be honest with you. But yeah, you have two big fights. Islam taking on Alex Volkanovski. Alex taking a fight on 10 days notice. And then you also have Kamaru Usman taking on Khamzat, 10-day notice. Now, I already told Micah, I was like, I don't know if I would take a fight on 10-day notice against these monsters. Like, that is, I mean, obviously they're looking for the opportunity, but how good of shape can you be on 10 days notice? I think I saw something earlier today that Alex Volkanovski was at 191. He's got to get down to 155 to make title weight, and he's.
I think it was 180.
Yeah, 181.
But yeah,
181. I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. I don't get my numbers right. That's why Wonsover is a producer, and he always corrects me and shit. But that's a lot of weight to cut in 10 days in travel, and to expect to be in tip-top shape to be able to dethrone the champ Islam Makhachev. And then I don't even know how I feel about Kamaru Usman fighting Khamzat. I mean, I know Kamaru Usman's body's breaking down on him. His knees are shot. And for him to, fight the wolf, I'm not I don't know, man. I don't know, Michael, what do you think? How do you feel about it?
Yeah, look, listen, Islam's a tremendous champion, so you got to think he's going to be the favorite. I haven't looked at the score, the odds yet or anything like that, but he's great, right? We all know how good he is. And he won the first fight on the scorecards. But it was very, very close. It was ridiculously close. And the reality is it could have gone either way. For Volkanovski, I mean, he fought International Fight Week. He beat Yair Rodriguez. He's a guy that takes his craft seriously. He's not a party animal. He's not out there boozing or anything like that. You know, I'm sure he likes a beer, don't get me wrong, but he's not that guy, you know?
Yeah.
And he even said this week, he said, I don't really get out of shape too much. You know, he said, my cardio's always at a decent base. I don't think it's going to be that much of a big deal. I really don't. The fact he's fighting at 155, so he's got an extra 10 pounds. He's only going to lose 26 pounds, which is a lot, don't get me wrong. But when I took my fight on 2 weeks' notice, I was 32 pounds off or something like that.
Damn.
And that was actually one of the easiest weight cuts of my whole career. It's weird how that happens. But so for Volkanovski, I think he's going to do great. Now, I'm not saying he wins. I don't know who's going to win. But I think for Volkanovski, a lot of the questions have been answered. When you go up against someone like Islam Makhachev, who is the new coming of Khabib, so to speak, he's the new version of him, right? And Khabib's in his corner. He represented Dagestan. He's the main guy. He's the lightweight champion. He's the man. So you think to yourself, and you know what it's like, the pre-fight anxiety. Can I beat this guy? How strong is he? Can I stop his takedowns? His punch power is supposed to be amazing. Can I take one of his shots? Will he knock me out? Can I fight at 155? All these questions. Well, they've all been answered. Then they've all been answered. And the answer to all of those things is yes. Yes, I can stop his takedown. Yes, I can get back up if I am taken down. Yes, I can take his shots. Yes, I can stop his submission attempts. So all that pre-fight anxiety is gone. And he even said himself, because he is taking it on short notice, we've got to think if we're realistic. He's not going to be in as good cardiovascular shape as Islam. He's just not. And the endurance and the stamina isn't going to be the same. So he's going to have to go out there and try and finish the guy, you know, and that'll make him dangerous. And of course, because he hasn't done a 10, 12-week training camp, 8 weeks, whatever, it's just he's showing up. He's got the chance to be great. He's taking a risk. He's going to get major props from everybody, right?
Yep.
He's not. If he loses, he's probably going to get submitted, and we all just know you just tap and it's done, right? He dared to be great, so there's no downside. There's no downside, right?
Yeah.
The upside is he can go out there, have a good go, swing for the fucking fences, and try and take the man's head off. And I think that makes him extremely dangerous. I'm not saying it makes him going to be the winner. I don't think he beats he might beat Islam, but I'm not saying that. I haven't watched him closely enough to say that. And you got to be careful with Islam. He's got very, very, very passionate fans. My God. If I say bad thing about Islam, I hate Muslims all of a sudden. Do you know what I mean? What the
boycott you like Michael Bisping shit at Islam. No, I mean, when I broke down his fight, you know, there's a lot of things that Volkanovski right now, he's probably the most impressive fighter on out there right now, along with Charles Oliveira, et cetera, because his IQ is so high. Like I always tell people, how the hell is Alec Volkanovski outstriking everybody and he's a shorter guy, right? I mean, Max Holloway, he outstruck him with the jab. Yair Rodriguez, he outstruck him. Kareem Zam, he outstruck him. Brian Ortega, he outstruck him. All of them. And he's a smaller athlete. And I think when I watched his fight with Islam versus his fight against Islam, he did a good job of always showing the feints, moving on the outside of the southpaw, and going from southpaw to orthodox, always changing the dynamic of the puzzle. And I agree with you. He's not going to be in the best shape going after a fight of Islam. I don't care. I'm always in shape. Right? I've never get over, I'm 150 now, but when I was back in the day fighting, competing, I would never really get out of my fight weight. But if someone's like, hey, can you take this fight on 10 days notice? I can do it, but it would not be the same cardiovascular that I would have if I did 8 to 10 week camp. So for him to go in there on 10 days notice to fight Islam, it's dangerous. And like you said, there is only upside. I mean, his stock has already risen for him taking the fight on short notice and against Islam, and it gives him the opportunity to try to be champ on short notice. So sometimes it could work out in his benefit where he doesn't have to worry about doing a 8 to 10 week camp, getting injured, getting bored.
It does because I said this when I beat Luke. I said, I'm never doing one of those long training camps ever again. I'm just going to keep it short because I always had a history of overtraining. And I think a lot of people in mixed martial arts do that because there's so many different elements to train, so many different styles. We know it all. Anyone watching this podcast is a fan, so they know. So I won't list them all. And but then because of weakness or insecurity, I still continue doing those long training camps. But when you take it on short notice, because I don't know about you, when I would start my training camps, I would feel powerful. I would feel explosive. I would feel fast. But then you get drained throughout the process, because you're cutting weight, you're restricting the carbohydrates, you're doing 2, sometimes 3 training sessions a day. And unless you're a cheating bastard and taking steroids like a lot of the people were back in the day, then you're not going to recover because you're not Superman unless your name's Vitor Belfort, right? So you get drained and you get weak. And that plays on your psyche as well. That's not an option. He's going to go in there fresh. He's going to go in strong. He's going to go in confident. And he's going to go in swinging for the fences. And in that first fight, there was only one knockdown which occurred. And that was Volkanovski. Knocked him down in round 5. You mentioned the stance switches. I think that is going to be key. In the first fight, let me just get rid of that. Editor's still sending me goddamn questions, things. In the first fight, he did a real good job from standing orthodox to switching to southpaw, but he was doing it by stepping forward, which closes the distance, and he would lead with the right hook. As the right leg stepped forward, he would lead with the right hand. And then he would roll out the way and step off on the angle. I think we're going to see that a lot. And I think he'll go with the right hand, but then follow it up with 2 or 3. But then he's got to step off. Now, the problem is if I've spotted that, then we know that Khabib has spotted that and his team has spotted that. And the perfect counter to that is to level change and grab the single leg and then start a wrestling entry. So there's, you can look at it from many different ways and you can come up with various different strategies. The reality is round 1 and round 2, Volk's going to be extremely dangerous. Now, when you look at his record, he's not necessarily a knockout artist. Yeah, he stopped Yair Rodriguez with his hands. He stopped Chad Mendes with his hands. He stopped the Korean Zombie. Did I just say that one, Yair Rodriguez? But the guys like Max Holloway and stuff like that, he didn't stop. But nobody stops Max Holloway. Nobody beats Max Holloway. So he's got real power. It's a real threat. I'm telling you, it's a real fight.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, first off, everybody loves TRT Vitor. He's a fucking massive TRT. And the fact that you brought that up, it's crazy how, you were in a USADA pool, right? It's crazy, how the new age of athletes bitch and complain about USADA. Here, let me give you guys a couple things that happened to me. I've been tested at the liquor store from USADA. I've been tested, early in the morning from USADA. I've been tested when I was playing World of Warcraft from USADA. Newsflash, motherfuckers. Guess what? When USADA comes to my house and they want to collect my urine, I can tell USADA to wait in the corner for 6 hours until I'm ready to give him a sample. I don't have to wake up and be like, I got to hurry up and give you pee. You
I got a story for you.
We're going to hear that story. But people got to understand, USADA is the king dingling of catching these cheaters, right? When USADA was like, Demetrious Johnson, you're supposed to be at the house. Where are you? I was like, hey, Helen. Hey, yeah, girl. Hey, what's up? I'm at the liquor store right now trying to get that 1942 Don Julio Añejo. Why don't you come over here and come get this piss? Okay, I'm on my way. She came to the liquor store, gave her my urine. She went about her day. I went home. We got lit. Okay, so you guys think that this is going to fix, the whole thing. And the reason why there's a 6 months period, do you guys know how this shit works? Okay, for people out there, from what I've been told is that you get on your steroids, you do your cycle, and then you get off it, and then you go compete. So when USADA says they want you to have 6 months in the pool clean, that means it gives you 6 months to not take anything. Then you got to give 2 negative tests, right? So think about that. 6 months clean and 2 negative tests, and then you get to compete. So just put that in your pipe and smoke it, boys. Michael,
look, listen. We should all be campaigning for clean sport, and certainly in mixed martial arts, right? The stakes are so high in boxing and combat sports. But talking of USADA, I've got a good one. So, tested everywhere. They show up at the house at 4 o'clock in the morning, which used to drive me crazy. Certainly in between fights, because I might like a couple of drinks here and there. Back in the day, not anymore. And you've had a late night and you're in bed and there's a knock at the door and my wife's like, it's USADA. I'm like, for fuck's sake, head's blazing, hungover, for fuck's sake. What do you want? But when I fought George St. Pierre, Madison Square Garden, I had a tough weight cut, right? And you know how those tough weight cuts are. My God, it was awful, right? So I go, I make weight, and then you got to do your medicals. You do your medicals before it, then you make weight, and I'm like, I'm dying, and now we can't do IVs or anything like that. So I go back up in the room, and I'm drinking my Pedialyte and my coconut water. I'm having a few berries, and I'm exhausted, right? Because you cut half your weight the night before, as you know, and then you cut the next half in the morning. The impact of that is that you don't sleep very well, right? And then you're up at the crack of dawn to make sure that you've cut the rest of the weight for the weigh-in, which is at 9 o'clock. So it's an early start. So I'm exhausted, and all I want to do is go to bed. So I walk into my room with my coaches, and we shoot the shit for 10 minutes. And then I'm like, all right, guys, I'm exhausted. I'm going to take a nap, go grab some breakfast or whatever. I'll see you in a bit. And they go, yeah. They walk out the room. I lie on the bed. I'm just about to fall asleep. There's a knock at the door. I'm like, well, one of the lads, maybe they forgot the phone or something. I open the door. Hello, USADA. I'm like, excuse me? They're like, USADA, we're here to test you. I lost my mind. I said, what the I said, do you know what I've just been through? Do you know what I've just been through? And now you're here. I said, I'm about to take a nap. I'm exhausted. I said, you think I can piss in a cup? I've just dehydrated myself 20 pounds. I said, you're going to have to wait a while. I said, and I'm exhausted. I said, I can hardly keep my eyes open. He goes, well, I'll wait like old smarmy. I said, right. And people are going to think I'm an asshole for this. I go, right, fine. Fucking wait. Right? And he goes, where do you want me to wait? And it was a suite. I said, well, I'm going in that room there and I'm going for a sleep. And if you want to wait here, you can wait in that room. I said, but don't sit down. I was being a dick. I said, don't sit down. You can't sit. I said, this is not your room. If you want to wait here, stand. Because I was so annoyed. The insult to come after I've just made weight. So anyway, I walk in my bedroom, I fall asleep, and I wake up like about an hour later. Don't open my eyes. I say, oh, the USADA guy. And I walk out, and he's still standing there, right? And
That's
I'm like,
our job.
And now the fluid has kicked in a little bit, you know, and I've had a little bit of rest, and the human being version of Michael Bisping is back. I'm like, oh my God, I am so sorry. I said, I am so sorry. I said, dude, you got me at like the worst time ever. Do you know what I mean? I said, I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry, like, you know, I said, I know you're only doing your job. I said, I get that. I said, but you got to look at it from my angle. And he actually said, you know what, Mr. Bisping? He said, it's totally fine. He said, to be honest, it's not even close to the worst one that I've had. So I said, well, tell me. And he said, he wouldn't give me names. He said that someone pulled an axe out on him once and was swinging the axe at him and all sorts. He said, trust me, what you just did to me was nothing. But even still, if you see this Mr. USADA guy, I was kind of a jerk that day, but you picked a up time to come and test me.
Yeah. Well, see, and that's the thing that people don't understand is that if they come and try to test you, you can say, hey, like you just did, I need to take a nap. You can sit in that corner and just chill.
Stand
when
in
I'm
the
ready
corner.
to get... What's that? Oh, is that that's right, stand in the corner. Well, I never forget when I was playing video games, I said, she came over and she goes, hey, I didn't take a step. I was like, I'm in the middle of a video game and I can't leave. I'm playing with 4 other dudes, so you're gonna have to wait. And I literally finished the dungeon in 45 minutes, and I was like, okay, I can give you my sample now. So guys out there, I love to see the new age athletes be bitching and complaining about USADA. Oh, USADA this, they always bother me, blah, 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 blah. They're just trying to keep the sport clean.
But hold on, Demetrious. Listen.
Okay.
Yeah. My delivery might not have been the best, and I apologize. And I made it up to him, and I was charming, I was sophisticated. I offered him a drink and a coffee and all the rest of it. But I just made weight. I'd just gone through one of the most traumatic experiences that a human being can go through, okay? Yeah. And I was exhausted. You just wanted to finish your game of Dungeons and Dragons.
Hey,
that's not the same.
It's the same shit, baby. It's the same shit. You know how stressful it is to make sure you keep the aggro off the healer? That's just stressful.
No.
Yeah.
I'm not a virgin. I've got 3 kids.
Now, before we let you go, Michael, because we've held you for a while, we asked our questions over at the Demetrious Johnson, the Mighty Gaming YouTube, the community page. I know you use your community page as well, so we're always trying to interact with our fans there. Yep. We asked them if they had any questions for Michael Bisping. And the number one question that was liked by all the fans, so I'm going to ask it, is by @RileyGarcia1. And he asked, this is for both of you, a question for both of you. Is there any striking or grappling techniques that you practice and felt confident in training, but couldn't get around to bringing them out in an actual fight?
Oh,
No,
I
I
mean,
don't
for
think
me,
so. I don't
Yeah.
think so. And that was the main question, the most liked question. No offense to whoever asked that. That's the lamest question. You got one question to ask Demetrious. You got one question to ask me. This is your one shot. So tell me, Mike, really interested to know, was there one particular striking technique in the gym that you just couldn't make work in a fight? That's it. That's it. That's your one question.
fans,
All the
no,
other
there
questions
wasn't.
are about your eyes. So
Say again.
all the other questions are about your
I
eyes.
don't give a
thought
shit.
that's-
Go ahead. I don't care. Ask the eye questions. What
okay,
about you, Demetrious?
here's-
Was there one technique in the training room that would work for you, but under the spotlight of the intense situation of real life competition, you really struggled with?
Here's another question. At Good Trilo, he asks, what was the closest you have ever been to getting caught fighting with only one eye? I know Bisping has talked about having to hide the fact his eye was damaged.
Oh, I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, how long have you got? There were so many times. Because when I detached the retina and then it redetached and then I got glaucoma, there was a lot of skullduggery going on, shall we say. There was a lot of lies and stuff like that, and I had to do what I had to do, and I was taking care of my family. I had like a code with Perillo, because you still got to get tested before every fight, by the local commission doctor. And if you just looked at my eye, I mean, obviously I have an eyepiece in now, but if you just looked at my eye, you could clearly see it was messed up. You did not need to be a doctor to see that. Anyone could look and say, that's messed up. And I used to think, all they've got to do is cover up one eye and go, how many fingers? And I'm done. And a lot of them didn't do that because I had the paperwork. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. And then they just took that. But then some of them would say, how many fingers? And I'd be like, right, Perillo. If they ask that, if it's one finger, just, yawn in the background. If it's two, just like, tap, just give a click or whatever. We came up with these stupid codes. It was very, very stressful, because you always thought, I always thought, you're going to go through the hardship of a training camp. You're going to then fly your team to the other side of the world, pay for hotels, all the rest of it. And then at the last minute, the day of the weigh-ins, not get cleared to fight. So not only is your career kind of done, but you've just gone through a training camp and the expense of it all and the flights and the hotels for nothing, but it is what it is.
Michael, this was a huge treat to have you on the MightyCast, man. Big fan of you. I love the podcast. I love the YouTube channel. I'm a big fan. I'm subscribed. I leave comments in there all the time. Love the movie stuff you do. Love all the stuff you're doing. Is there anything you want to tell the fans where they can reach you, where they can follow your career? What movies you got coming out that we can, maybe get our tickets to go see? Come on.
You know what? Listen, and thank you very much for the platform. I appreciate it, but I always kind of cringe at these moments. You know what I mean? It's like, hey guys, follow me on Twitter. You know what I mean? Hey guys, be sure to subscribe. Don't, right? If you want to do that, go ahead. But I ain't gonna lower myself to begging people to do it. Do you know what I'm saying? I just can't. It's just the way I am. If you want to do that, fucking go ahead. Movies, Red Sonja, Den of Thieves 2, and then what was it called? Fucking Fight Another Day. Got those three coming out soon. What else is going? Oh, I will say this though. I did a show 2 years ago called Tales from the Octagon. It was a tour in the UK, basically just me on a stage for 2 hours. It was great. It was sold out. Like in Manchester, we had 3,500 people. It was wild.
Damn.
It was a really, really fun night. Everyone enjoyed it themselves. So I'm doing that again in December. December 14th in London at the O2, and then December 16th and Saturday, the Indigo at the O2, I should say, not the 20,000 seat arena. The Apollo Theatre in Manchester. So if you want to get a ticket, and it'll be me, and then this time I'll be joined on stage by Tom Aspinall and Paul Craig. It's interactive. We'll be asking questions. We'll be getting drunk on stage. I'll be taking the piss out of everyone. It's just a very silly, fun night. myticket.co.uk, or just search Tales from the Octagon 2.
Boom.
Yeah, and even if Michael doesn't want to do it, give his YouTube. If you're subscribed to our YouTube, the Mighty Gaming YouTube, and not Michael's, it doesn't even make any sense because there's a huge crossover there. Much. A lot of great content.
Yeah.
And also make sure to subscribe to the Believe You and Me podcast. I believe you just type in Michael Bisping podcast. Michael and Anthony Smith, great show. We've actually had DJ go on the show before, so
we got to get DJ back on.
Yeah, you just call, baby. You know, you got my number now.
Let me
Just
ask you
call me.
this. Sorry, I'm not sure. My phone's being used right now. I'm going to subscribe to your YouTube channel right now. So how often do you upload videos?
So we upload videos. I feel like I'm a reporter now because we're always chasing the biggest story. And
so
me and Michael, we kind of, me and Michael.
Yeah, that's why I hate to be the one to be like, oh, Logan Paul, Dillon Danis. Like we hate this shit as much as anyone, but we kind of are following what's trending.
I don't want to say I
all
hate
that
it.
stuff.
I don't want to say I hate it because
but-
I had some good ass laughs watching the Face Off, watching the Lie Detector, watching all the Nina stuff on Twitter. Like I have some good laughs, but we try to just, maybe do one every other day. Obviously, this one's gonna be posted tomorrow. We're filming it Tuesday, so we'll post it tomorrow. And then we'll do another, my final predictions of what's gonna happen at UFC 294 with Hazmat and Islam, and then we'll do the live reaction. So it just all depends on like what's going on. But this week's pretty busy for us.
Yeah. No, it's weird, like the YouTube stuff, and I know we're finished, and I need the bathroom, so I'm going to go. For me, it kind of came across. It happened accidentally. I never thought I'd be sitting there saying that I did a YouTube channel. I think I did an advert for DraftKings or something, and it had to be on my Instagram. So I had to do like a prediction. So I did like a breakdown of the fight and all the rest of it. And when I was done with it, I posted it on my Instagram, and I looked at it and I thought that was pretty good. I was quite tickled with myself with the presentation and the analysis. I thought that was good. And I had a YouTube channel that I started doing in like 2006 and 7, just training blogs in my early UFC days. And I thought, do I remember that password? And I haven't looked at that in almost 20 years. So I guessed the password and I got it. So I uploaded it and I forgot all about it. And then I went back a couple of weeks later and it had like 150,000 views or something. I thought, holy shit, wow. I know the comments were really encouraging and all the rest of it. So I thought, I'll do another one. And I did another one. And then another one. Just for, because it was fun and the interaction on the comments. Then I got an email from YouTube saying I qualify for monetization because I knew nothing about it. I knew nothing. I didn't know you could monetize or anything. I swear to God. And then I got an email. I'm like, well, you can get paid for this shit. And I know YouTubers get paid, but I'm like, how did he get paid? I don't know. Literally, John Brannigan, he's my editor. He's taught me so much. I was so dumb to it all. And then the first month, I was like, shit, that's pretty good. So I guess now I'm a YouTuber. And if anyone has a problem with that, go yourselves. This has been the Mighty Mouse Podcast. I have been Michael Bisping, joined by the one, the only, the great Mighty Mouse Demetrious Johnson, one of the greatest fighters of all time. And I truly mean that, Demetrious. Thank you for having me on. Truly a pleasure. Subscribe, ring the bell to Demetrious' show. I'm going to go. Take it easy. Goodbye. All the best. Bon voyage. All the best.
Boom, boys.